India manages thousands of protected historical monuments, but in the city of Alwar, one site sits outside the standard archaeological playbook. These walls were once the center of regional power, but decades of decay have turned the grand architecture into a skeletal ruin. As the stones crumbled, the site became the focal point for dense local folklore. The Archaeological Survey of India has enforced a rare legal prohibition here. A permanent board at the entrance forbids any visitor from remaining inside the perimeter between sunset and sunrise. This creates a hard legal boundary. Every evening, the entire complex is cleared of modern human presence, leaving the ruins entirely to the darkness. The inclusion of a formal government warning changes the context of the legend. It provides the story with the weight of official, state-sanctioned caution. Satyendra joined the local archaeological department with a background in rigorous, evidence-based research. To him, the stories of the fort were merely psychological projections. He grew frustrated with colleagues who refused to enter the gates after dark. Their fear was persistent and unscientific, a barrier to the professional documentation of the site. During a night duty shift, Satyendra decides to breach the inner sanctum. He carries a flashlight and a camera, intent on recording the silence to prove there is nothing to fear. He steps past the warning signs, betting his professional reputation on the belief that the fort is nothing more than inert stone. He reaches the Janana Mahal, the most architecturally complex section. Even in the dark, the intricate red sandstone carvings and support pillars remain visible. The light from his flashlight is suddenly redundant. The red sandstone blocks of the inner walls begin to pulse with a faint, independent light, a property entirely absent from the local geological record. Satyendra reaches out to examine the glowing masonry, seeking a physical cause. The moment his hand touches the carved surface, a violent electrical discharge throws him backward onto the floor. As he recovers, the silence is broken by the rhythmic ringing of ghungru, traditional ankle bells. The sound doesn't echo from a single room. It originates from the air around him, growing louder with every second. The ruins have shifted from a static historical site into a responsive, active environment. Light emerges without heat, and rhythmic sound carries through the halls without visible source. Satyendra enters the main hall and finds the decay of the fort has vanished. The walls are smooth, the torches are lit, and the room is filled with courtiers, servants, and soldiers in historical dress. He is witnessing a royal wedding. A princess stands at the center of the court, garland in hand, preparing to finalize a marriage that was supposed to have happened centuries ago. When the guards discover him, they don't treat him as a ghost. They seize him as a modern intruder, dragging him before the king to answer for the sin of watching the princess. Satyendra tries to shout that they are illusions, that they are dead and gone, but his words only incite the court. The king orders his soldiers to whip the man who dares to mock the royal family. The princess intervenes, but not to show mercy. She declares that because he used his eyes to commit a crime, he should lose them. She orders guards to bring white-hot iron bars. Satyendra continues to shout about historical facts and scientific logic, even as the cold metal of the shackles locks around his wrists. His insistence on what is real provides no defense against the physical violence of the court's judgment. A guard finds Satyendra the next morning, slumped near the main entrance. The royal court vanished, and the fort returned to its state of weathered, silent ruin. He checks his arms for the marks of the whip, and his eyes for the burns of the iron. There isn't a single scar. His skin is unmarked, and his clothes are exactly as they were when he entered. Satyendra is left to reconcile the memory of the white-hot iron with his own healthy skin. Without a single witness or physical wound, he is trapped in a cycle of self-doubt, unable to prove even to himself what happened in the dark. Satyendra eventually resigned his post. He realized that his training in archaeology could describe the stones, but it was useless for navigating the events that occurred after the sun went down. Bhangarh exists in two states. By day, it is a peaceful historical site. By night, it repeats its final hours for anyone caught inside. The government's sunset mandate functions as a practical barrier. It separates modern logic from a repeating historical trauma that refuses to be solved.